There, like I said, there are 3 levels depending on what you go through, but it is free training. Obviously, you say free, it's not always free because you got to pay the manpower time to be there, the mileage to get there, and whatnot. But lodging and meals while you're there, all that is included, and that's through this program. With it being a nonprofit, the program itself is what pays for that. So some of the fines that would be assessed on the out of service part of the violations is where that comes from, and that's what pays for this program.
My second question is, what's the indicator as to when you pull somebody over? Is it
being a certified inspector, we do not need a reason whatsoever. Where a typical officer would need probable cause to, or very good reasonable suspicion to actually stop a vehicle on the roadway. Through this program and through laws, we do not need any justification to stop a motor vehicle, a commercial motor vehicle, to do a safety inspection. But our scope remains within the inspection itself, unless something presents itself to us at that time.
Would that be the same? I'm sorry. If it was a level 1 certified inspector as well, they'd have the same authority?
Yeah, level 1, level 2, level 3 have the same authority when it comes to actually stopping a commercial motor vehicle to do an inspection. Again, it has to be within our jurisdiction, within our city limits, unless we are asked to participate with another agency. So if Olathe wanted to do an enforcement day on I-35 in their city, they could ask us to come join them, and that would give us the authority to work in their jurisdiction and do these inspections there. And the same with us. We can invite other agencies to our city to set up these inspection lanes and whatnot and do those inspections here, kind of like a blitz type thing.
Okay, no, that's okay. Just 2 more questions. I'm not sure, Officer Huff, these are for you but do we have plans to train some additional resources at the police department eventually?
Yes, that would be in the future, but yes.
Okay, and then secondly, with the I guess diversity and the time that it can take to perform these inspections, do we have any idea on what that's going to do from a resource perspective? So I'm assuming if the Officer Huff, if you do 4 inspections a day, and let's just say they average an hour, hour and a half, I mean, there's most of your day. So that's almost like you're pulling an officer.
Correct.
So
Correct.
Have we done that assessment? Do we understand yet what that could mean?
That's something that Captain Moore and I have entered into discussion about, because, I mean, really that's a hurdle we're going to have to overcome. Because we have a gentleman here, an officer who's went in and done an excellent job, who's prepared for this, and we need to be able to let him use his skills and basically utilize him for what he was trained for. And we, quite honestly, are going to have to manipulate schedules, move people, cover shortages. So, I mean, these are all things that we'll have to deal with in order to get him out to be able to perform this function that really I think we need desperately.
Right.
So, yes, if that answers your question.
That does. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions?
I guess in lieu of, or I guess in light of the information you presented tonight, though, I guess this isn't necessarily directed to you, Officer Huff, but our new police chief, wouldn't it just be better to restrict the trucks that go through town? I mean, that's nearly free compared to having one officer do 4 inspections a day.
You know, I can see how that might seem to be the easiest solution, but, you know, I really think we have to consider the feasibility of that, the workability of that, and in the sense of what we have with the intermodal coming in, the amount of truck traffic that's going to be attracting back and forth. And I'm sorry, not everyone will obey the laws and go by what sign is out there. Having been, you know, privy to this program before, coming from Edwardsville, I mean, we had numerous streets that were not, that we didn't allow certain trucks on, and we routinely caught them driving down the streets.
True, but you had an established ordinance that tried to restrict it first. I mean, it just seems not.
We did, sir, and it did absolutely no good. No good. It is still something that, again, that they were carrying the streets up in Edwardsville. We got our CVSA inspector in, started pulling inspections on the vehicles, and they figured out that, you know, at least they were taking the proper routes. Again, I know how that is. I can see where you might want to approach it from that angle. I mean, it's certainly something we can look at and explore, but I just want you to know, in my experience, that's not always been the easiest answer.
True.
I wish
but
it was.
I get that, but the fact that you had an ordinance first, and then once you made a statement with assigning officers to actually enforce the ordinance, you did have some alleviation of that problem after that, right? I mean, don't truckers start to learn that if you go down these roads that are not designated truck routes,
You know,
you're
I
gonna-
think,
you stand a chance of being
you know,
pulled
sir,
over?
I think I could say yes if we had trucks who were routinely coming back into that city or that area that were familiar with the city and the enforcement that we take. But given Edwardsville, the warehouses that we had there, the warehouses that we will have there, we will have a lot of outside traffic coming in that will not be familiar with that, will not know that we are strong about enforcement on the streets. I mean, a truck driver, tractor trailer driver from Illinois, he could basically care less, or she could care less about what we have, not be familiar with the ordinances, no matter how much we restrict them. If we had people who returned every day, our selective enforcement, I think, would have much more effect, if that answers the question.
I think the long and short of it, Chief, and if I'm hearing you right, is that the level of compliance in a municipality when it comes to, you know, truck routes or whatever you want to put into place is directly proportional to the amount of enforcement. You're going to have those individuals anyway, regardless of whether you have
Absolutely.
ordinance or not.
Thank you, yes.
True, but at a cost of 9,600 cars for one tractor trailer, right?
Yes, that's correct.
9,600 cars, even though, and I pointed this out last week or the last meeting, I used those same numbers without the 9,600 vehicles. I mean, what is our current traffic on Gardner Road right now? It seems to me that we had, you know, 8,000 perhaps. Does that sound right?
I couldn't tell you that.
And I guess what I'm saying is, you know,
This is-
I know where you're going, but
Right.
let's go back to the heart of the issue, and that is 9,600 trucks, or 9,600 cars, which may be the equivalent of an entire day's worth of cars with one semi transiting and that's assuming that they're normally loaded and not overloaded. It
If-
sure
if I
seems
may
like to
add
me
real
the
quick,
cost-benefit
Jim.
analysis requires that we restrict trucks on areas that have, you know, that we're going to be paying for.
We have to be careful on how much we limit trucks through our city, because actually in the Constitution, we can't interfere with interstate commerce. And by doing so, restricting them so far, there's actually been case law out there where cities have been forced to reverse their ordinances on that due to the fact that they're too restricting. So, I mean, you can, but you have to be careful as to how far you go. And the more you limit them, what it states currently is a truck may take the most direct route from a truck route to get to the place of business that they're going to. So if we only have one roadway for them to go down, say 56 Highway here, Main Street, well, to them, their direct route to a business that may be in the middle of town somewhere, they have several options of their direct routes, and now we can't really control. So if we at least have a few, like we do now, I think we have a good setup of what our truck routes are. We allow them a few more options to kind of control what direction they go to get some of our business, like on East Warren Street, over there by CMI and stuff like that. You know, although Moonlight Road South is not a truck route, by having 56 there, they can actually take Moonlight Road to Warren and then come right back. But by not allowing them to go down 183rd, you know, we can control that access a little bit more. We get too restrictive, we might actually start getting ourselves in a little more trouble.
But I think we need good legal guidance on that, and in the meantime, we need, you know, we have 2.5% of all the traffic, we learned at the last meeting, is truck traffic. And I did the math, at that time, it seemed to me it was 250 truck trips a day going up and down Gardner Road. And now you're saying take 250 trips times 9,600, and that's the total vehicle count. I mean, there is a real cost, an enormous cost to infrastructure, which we identified in the budget meeting that we must take care of. The best way to take care of your budget is to make sure that you don't incur any unnecessary costs to begin with.
Well, hopefully with these inspections, those trucks will be limited. I mean, once they find out we're doing them, maybe
Right.
they'll find an alternate route.
Well,
to
exactly.
take.
I'm going to ask to interject here, please. Mr. Fodovich, I totally understand where you're going with it, but what you're discussing is not actually germane to this topic.
I think it is.
I know, I'm gonna say that it's not, and that's just